May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hello, everybody. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osayana kitamoya, Ohio. Namaste. Habarigani. Manut. Jambo, mibini Kofi, Nina Franco, Katana Nuewe. Bakurta, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Allah Shem Yechava, Barak Allah Shem Yechava, Tedach Yastel, Kwam Yastel, and Kofi, Helet, Servants of Christ, Mashalom Chi. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And we thank everybody for being on today for our assignment and our continued conversation. We're getting close to Passover first. So if you haven't done so already, please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure that you have selected. Please go out and do that ASAP. Actually, if you talk, hold on 1 second for me. Let me make sure I got a better signal for you. Hold on 1 second. But to everybody else, thank you again for being on. We really do appreciate you one more again. And of course, now it's going to take forever for me to find what I'm looking for. There we go. All righty, praise yeah. Amen. But we thank everybody for being on. Peace be upon everybody. We thank you on all the different platforms you're watching us on today. We really, really do appreciate it. We know that you could have been doing anything, a plethora of things, many things that will help different things. So hopefully, if you've allowed yourself to be on with us today, this will be something that will be a blessing unto thee. And we thank you for being on today with us again. We appreciate you so very much, whether you're on the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We appreciate you so very much. And we're thankful and grateful for having you guys on with us today. We're excited to be before you. Those that are in the DMV, Baltimore area, we're excited. We're going to try and see you guys very soon. Those who are in Philly, we're going to try and possibly see y'all somewhat soon. And those that are in New York, maybe we'll see you around the same time we see the cats in Philly. So, or in New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Delaware, all those spots up there. Maybe we'll be able to make that happen. So prayerfully, we'll see you guys soon, spend some time with you, do a little meetup. But we thank you guys for being on today. As a reminder, we are going to be having some meetings on Zoom today. So at 11 a.m. Eastern, New York time, those that are in Georgia, North Carolina area, South Carolina area, we're going to be doing a Zoom meeting just for you all today. And when we get to was it 12:30 p.m. or 11:30 a.m. 12:30 p.m. Eastern or 11:30 a.m. Central. Those that are in Central North area, Missouri, Minnesota. I'll be forgetting Missouri, Minnesota, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, North Dakota, South Dakota, Ontario. And I missed somebody up in there. Michigan. Did I say Michigan? I feel like I missed somebody. But if you're in that area, we'll be talking to you guys today at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Everybody in Washington State, Oregon, Cali, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Colorado, places like that. At 11 a.m. Pacific time, we'll talk to you guys on live as well. So if you haven't gotten anything, if you don't have the link, if you don't have the Zoom meeting that says SOC meeting, you should already have that. But if you don't have something specific to your area, whatever, we'll make sure that we send that out to you ASAP and we add you on if you're not already added in there. But thank you all again for being on. We appreciate you on all the platforms. Thank you guys who have been checking us out in the evening as well for our 7 Last Words series. We're excited about that. That's going on as well. And so for these last 4 days, April 1st, April 2nd, April 3rd, April 4th, what we're going to do, besides our 7 last words, that'll be this evening again. Minister Joseph giving us a word this evening. Eloi, lama sabachthani, or my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? So join us for that. So we're excited about that. Be on Kofi_42 on TikTok this evening, as well as at least YouTube, the podcast, Facebook. We're just gonna have we've been having issues. We're just gonna have to make sure that we put the links up there for you afterwards. But thank you everybody for being on. We're gonna do some Q&A. I'm gonna start with a couple questions, and then whatever questions you guys have, let's roll with them. But these last 4 days, we're just gonna do Q&A. Praise God. So these last 4 days will just be Q&A. Then Passover coming up on April 5th, so we'll be meeting on Zoom for that. Minister Anais will give us a word on the rising for our Wednesday, when it's normally my day off. And then Thursday, we'll start a new series. We're finally going to be able to start diving into some of these animals that we've been talking about, trying to do a series on that. So we're excited about that. We're thankful and grateful to everybody. Oh, wow. TikTok is doing their best to make sure that we don't have any viewers today, but that's okay. We're going to keep on pushing and keep on moving. Praise God. So thank you guys for being on. Appreciate you. Let's go ahead and say that hello to everybody who's on, and let's get started. Hi, how's everybody doing? Welcome again. Once again, if you're on the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, we appreciate your time. Hello to Minister Anais, Minister Shantae, Stephen. Oh, okay, it keeps freezing. Yeah, I don't know. Hold on one second. I don't really know what else I can do with the signal. That's about the best I'm able to do today. So yeah, I apologize. I don't know what's going on. It keeps freezing. We're gonna do our best, be as diligent as we possibly can. Hopefully it'll work out enough. So I apologize for that. I'm not sure. I guess we got to start making more of an effort to go. The location I'm using as a headquarters, I guess it freezes a lot. So we're gonna have to try and figure out how to do more of these outside somewhere, especially as the sun is staying out longer. So we'll try to correct that next time. But thank you for those who are trying and pushing and trying to be on. We appreciate you so very much. So let's say hello to everybody else. How you doing, Minister Sharon? I was just saying excellent word last night. Excellent word as always. And thank you for once again for putting a little personal touch on the message yesterday. You can check out her message from yesterday. Got all this stuff all on the beard and everything. You can check out her message from yesterday on our YouTube channel. It's already uploaded. And like I said, it'll be uploaded on Facebook shortly. We'll make sure that all these are on Patreon as well. So you'll be able to find them on multiple platforms. We appreciate you all. Thank you for being on again. How you doing, Romac? Hi. This thing is pausing. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. How you doing, Teresa? Money Green, Sister Nadine, Miss Pierce, niece, Sister Deborah, Brother Ali. Oh, also too, if you can, please keep Minister Moselle in prayer. I don't know if I'm able to tell you exactly what's going on with her, but just keep her in prayer if you can. How you doing, him? How you doing, Sister Lori? Brother Alton, poet. Yeah, Miss Betty, a lot of us having connection issues. I think it's just where I am. We have to figure out a way to correct it. How you doing? Shabbat shalom to everybody. How you doing? Elions, Drea, Sage, Quentin, everybody, come on in, enjoy. If I miss your name, charge to my head, not to my heart. Appreciate all of y'all. Big Brother Thomas, hello, how you doing, sir? The heartbeat of the D in the house today. All y'all coming in. How you doing, Sister Beverly? Everybody, Tamaya, if I missed your name, charge to my head, not to my heart. Once again, how you doing, Sister Denise? Everybody, we appreciate you. So let's go ahead and get into this Q&A for today. We'll be doing Q&A. It'll be shorter today because we have our podcast. My wife will actually be on the podcast today, and prayerfully, she might even kind of take over, and I'll just be listening like you guys will be listening, and she'll be talking about some different things concerning herbalism. So if there's some questions, comments, or concerns, you might want to be prepared to even call in if you're going to participate in the podcast. If you've never seen some of the things we do outside of just a live session and you want to know about them, feel free to just stick around, especially if you're on TikTok, stick around to the end and you'll be able to be part of our shout out where you can get that information. If you're on Facebook or YouTube or even on the if you're on the podcast, you know how to do this, but if you're on Facebook or YouTube, just look in the description with the video and you'll be able to get information on how to text us and get contact and get connected. How you doing, Brother Vincent? I know I'm like 75 days behind. I'm trying to reach back out to you. But we're going to get that together as well. All righty, let's get into this. And how you doing, Sister Rhonda? If I didn't say so already. How you doing, Vic? Let's get into this. So Q&A for today. Q&A. So we're going to start with two things in Q&A. I'll try to go through them as fast as possible. And then whatever questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have, whether they be from this whole series we've been doing for this 40-day period we're in, whether they be just in general, whether it be something biblical, whether it be something, what do you think about this? I'll do my best to answer. I will let you know that I'm not going to really opine. I don't give opinion. I try to give contextual facts. So I'll do my best. How you doing, Sister Lorette? So I'll do my best to answer all those things for you as best as I can. Praise God. Also, as a reminder for those who are going to be going in ministerial training, A reminder that we're supposed to meet on Zoom today as well. So I might have to look up the times because we got so much stuff going on today. I might have messed up some times. So I might have to give us a new time. So just hang in there with me if you're supposed to do the ministerial training. I just realized we might have double booked ourselves, but we'll figure that out. How you doing? Set apart for y'all. How you doing, Sister Nadine? So Q&A, a couple things I wanted to just throw out or, take care of before I even get into Passover. That's number 2. First thing I want to talk about, just because Holy Spirit kind of has been leading me and pushing me, and also we haven't been doing evening sessions, which means that I haven't been able to really maybe speak on some of these things as in depth as we normally would. I'm not going to go super deep into this today. I just want to make mention of it. Okay. I'm not going to go super deep into this today. I just want to make mention of it. I'm not going to go super deep into this today. I just want to make mention of it. If you guys have questions and want to go down this route, that's fine. But I just kind of want to put my stance, or not even my stance, we want to put a holy perspective on this stance, right? We want to talk about something specifically, right? And we want to make sure that we're on track with something specific, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the Donald Trump situation, which has been going on for a long time, but I just want to talk a little bit about it, because if we're not careful, things like this come about to distract you. How you doing, Sister Betty? How you doing, Minister Tamara? Things like this come about to distract you from real issues, right? So I want to really, kind of hopefully help you with some stuff and rein in a little bit of this stuff, because what will happen is, if we're not careful, is that we get caught on some things that have nothing to do with you, right? And a lot of people don't think about that, but we get caught up on a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with you, right? So I want to make sure that we get this straight, and that we're not having, interesting or wild or weird conversation, especially as children of the Most High. I just want to put this out there, because if you're not careful, once again, you shall be distracted by this, right? If you're not careful, this will be something that's very distracting. I can even see why the enemy doesn't even want this word to go forth today. Like, if you're not careful, this can be something that'll be very distracting. I say this, and I say this often, I'll say it again. There is not one thing that's going on with the presidency that really has to do with you. And we say this all the time, but let me just be more blunt today, right? Let me not beat around the bush. We don't want to beat around the bush too much, but let's make sure we're very diligent and focused, hyper-focused on this. There's nothing that's happening with Donald Trump that's going to come out of this, whether he gets off in your mind, whether he gets what he deserves in your mind, whether he wins, loses in your mind, whatever the case is. There's not one thing that's going to happen with Donald Trump, any of this stuff that's happening, that's of any value to you. I just want to let's make this straight, right? Let's just make this plain. There's not anything that's going to happen out of this that's going to affect you, especially if you're into trying to be private and not public, right? But even as a public citizen, his presidency of being over your corporation. Remember, the United States is a corporation by law, 28 USC 3002-15A. That's United States Code, 28 USC 3002-15A, or in other words, right, 28 part of the United States Code, section 15, subsection A, 28 USC 3002-15A. It's telling you specifically that you are a corporation. So when he was the president of the corporation, maybe this mattered. But he's not even the president of your corporation anymore, if you are in fact a United States citizen. So if you're a United States citizen, this is not going to do one thing or the other, right? And I want to just make this plain also. So, and thank y'all for the love and the likes and shares and all that great stuff. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. I want to make this clear. I want to make this plain today. I want to decree this with the power of Kodash behind it, right? The issues that you guys are thinking about are not even the issues. This is what's going on with the whole Donald Trump thing. How you doing, Savage Life? This is all that's going on with the Donald Trump thing. Same thing that's going on with Andrew Tate. Donald Trump was somebody who they really didn't want, but they couldn't really like finesse him out of stuff. He was so powerful because he's a billionaire. Unlike Mitt Romney, he was able to do some things that other billionaires weren't willing to do. He kind of Ross Perot, but with a little more backing, and he was more somebody who people thought was a celebrity, and he was able to basically use connection, make promises to people, whether they be evangelicals, whether it be churches, 501c3 stuff, whether it be even organizations that your children watch, like the WWE, whatever. He was able to deal his way in a place to where they didn't really mind him being in, but they thought they'd be able to control him. He forced his way a little bit too much, so they said, okay, maybe we'll be able to control him. He got in, and he started wilding out. They don't care that he cheated. They don't care that he spent your money. Do you know how many presidents have used your money? Do you not know that Ronald Reagan sold drugs, used that money to be able to fund the whole, Iran-Contra war, was playing nice with the people that y'all thought were your enemy with the Iran-Contra thing? He was playing nice with the people of Iran and was making sure they were dealing in weapons. Bill Clinton is literally somebody who doesn't allow Haiti to grow its own food and force Haiti to be able to make sure that they were living off of the terrible rice that his people were making, his boys were producing in Arkansas. They work with the Red Cross hand in hand still to this day. Do you not know that Abraham Lincoln was making deals with slave owners? Whichever way you want to take this, right? Do you not know that George W. Bush, so the second Bush, George W. Bush, was doing what he was doing as far as like lying to you all about weapons of mass destruction, and he actually was working hand in hand with some of the people and didn't even go after Osama bin Laden when they could have killed him. They knew where he was. I don't know if it was recon or if it was Navy SEALs, but they already knew where he was. They could have got him. You see what I'm saying? Like, no matter what president you want to use, Richard Nixon is somebody who made sure that he betrayed y'all because he did the last steps to get rid of the gold standard. Like, this is not about Donald Trump spending money. This is about the fact that Donald Trump messed up and said, I'm going to do something. As much as you may hate him, love him, whatever, I just need you to be on contextual facts. What's happening with Donald Trump is that he came into the presidency of the United States Corporation. And as the president of the United States Corporation, he's supposed to represent the corporation well. What is the mentality? What is the first goal? What is the number one responsibility of the president of the corporation of the United States? Anybody who's been in the military, what is it that you had to go ahead and state? Anybody who's ever worked for any office in any government capacity, what is it that you raised your right hand and you said? What is it that you swore? What is it that you swore? You swore this. You said, I will support and defend, right, the Constitution. But before that, the president has a little extra. He doesn't have extra in his swearing in, but he has a little extra he's supposed to do. His first responsibility is to preserve the union, to protect the union. Amen. To preserve the union. That's his first thing, is to what? Preserve the union. Keep it together, protect it, right? And he came in and he didn't do that. Number one, so he's messing with their money, capitalism. Number two, I shall support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So he allowed foreign enemies to have more power and capital. He allowed domestic enemies, people who live in the United States, to have positions of capital that are dangerous, not only to the public or private citizens, somewhat. It doesn't really affect you as much as you think, but also it was dangerous to the people that are in power. And he's now trying to run again. If Donald Trump had not tried to run for president again, remember, he messed with Stormy Daniels and all the stuff they try to bring up now before he was president. I need you to see how the game works. Get out of Republican Democrat for a second. Before he ran for president, all this was happening. Yeah, he messed up his oath to his corporations, right? So before he was running for president, you hear what I'm saying? All this was already known. So this whole time that he's been going through this whole time we've known what he's doing. This whole time everybody's known this. Whether you believe it or not, it's the rumor, at least if you want to say it that what he allegedly did has been out. This is not about Republican or Democrat. This is about the fact that he's trying to see if he can run out. It seems like he's probably not even going to get the nod for his own party again, right? It seems like enough Republicans are tired of him as well, and that's whatever, right? But so it doesn't even seem like, but just the fact that he's trying to run, they said we're going to squash it. This is a warning. See, y'all don't even realize the whole Stormy Daniels thing. I heard somebody say it like this when I was researching. I heard somebody say it like this earlier today. Think of the Stormy Daniels thing as like somebody running a traffic light on their way to a bank robbery. When I heard that, I was like, that's kind of powerful right there. He said, think of this whole thing as basically somebody's trying to run a traffic light on the way to a bank robbery. What was the person trying to say? He said, basically, this little Stormy Daniels thing is like the beginning, right? This is a misdemeanor. This is something that he could probably be found guilty of and still not serve any jail time and still have all this power and maybe pay a fine or maybe pay something back or whatever, right? But maybe he gets caught up on some jail time or some prison time possibly because of this. You said you're delusional and the fact that you can't see what's really going on by this point. Well, what's really going on, Alan? And if that's your way of saying hello to you, now that you've gone ahead and tried to tell me that I'm a terrible human being, treat me enough like a human being or even a dumb human being. Tell me why I'm wrong, because I haven't said that I'm a Republican or Democrat. I'm not. So help me out. Okay, well, somebody got rid of Alan already. Thank you so much for being on. All you have to do is just say, well, I think this, blah, blah, rather than just using ad hominem, which shows that you have no apologetical skill at all, right? But I appreciate you, and I honor your valiant heart for whatever your cause is. I just wish that you knew how to treat people like human beings. But you can feel free to reach out to me. Just because you're muted for the live doesn't mean you can't reach out. If you really want to talk to me, we could actually have conversation as human beings. Now, if you try to trick me with a conversation like you just did, I'd probably hang up on you. But if you like to actually talk like human beings, you can. Feel free to look on my main page, click on the link tree, and get in touch with me. Praise God, right? So you see what I'm saying? So you have to be in a position where you realize that this whole thing is about the fact that Trump was out here bucking the system. And Trump has been messing with the system. And they didn't care until it came to a point where now you're messing with their money. They didn't really care until you got to a place where you're messing with their money. Now we got to try to give a warning. He's right. So in all this stuff or whatever, like I said, I'm not going to sit up here, even though I don't like, I won't say, well, yeah, I don't like any president that's ever existed because all of them did things that were against my people. Every single one. All of them did things against anybody in the public or private. Every single one. He said for all his wrong, he won't go to jail. He's protected. Well, he's got enough capital where he probably shouldn't go to jail in this system, to be honest with you, because you pay a debt to society if you go to jail. Well, if he can pay his debt, then he probably shouldn't go. That's the way this system works. That's why you got to figure out, do you want to be in it or do you want to be in it and not of it, or do you want to be submerged in it, you know? But I just want you to see that, right? People, you can already see somebody's emotionally in there. Oh, I can't believe you're saying you don't know what's going on, blah, because you're emotional. Right? Take your emotional attachment off, peel off your Republican and Democrat face, peel off your United States corporation face for a second and actually step back from it and look at the law, right? Like Donald Trump has done the same thing that all these other people have done and nobody cares about it. So you got to ask yourself, if nobody's cared about it to this point, why do they care so much now? He happens to be running for president again. That's it. Well, there's different ways we have classes, things like that coming up and all that starting April 10th, but there's different ways we could talk about it. Reach out to me, text me the number that's in the, either number, probably 202 number is best, but text me with the information that's in the description and we'll try to set something up. Right. But you got to hear this. You hear what I'm saying? Like you got to hear this. Instead of getting upset, instead of getting frustrated, instead of going into argument mode when people are coming on, hear what I'm saying, right? Nobody has done anything about this Stormy Daniels situation. Donald Trump was out here, forgive my language, sisters. I'm just quoting, right? Donald Trump was out here quoted on, they got him on wax, so to speak. They're saying, grab him by the pussy. Did he not say that? So, he's okay with you even touching women without permission. He said, why? Because you're rich. What they going to do to you? We know this, right? So it's not so much a thing of whether Donald Trump is good or evil or whatever. This is about money. You're not going to mess up our money again. You're not going to mess up our standing again. You're not going to make it look like we don't have full control again. They let social media get out of pocket so much that Donald Trump was able to pop up just because he was a celebrity. They said, we're not going to do that again. So this is just a small thing. This is a warning. Hey, get yourself in order. We're going to embarrass you. We're going to force you to be in handcuffs. We're going to force you to take a mugshot. We're going to put some of this stuff out in public that you've been doing. By the way, legal. See, I need y'all to comprehend the whole thing. In all honesty, legally speaking, lawfully speaking, legally speaking, whichever way you want to go. How you doing, Sister Marcia? Legally speaking, you need to recognize something. You ready? You ready? Legally speaking, the only thing that's wrong, I'm not talking about morally. That's why I see law is different than legal. Not everything that's lawful is legal, right? Not everything that's legal is lawful. Lawful, legally speaking, American law, so legally, not our law, but legally speaking, Donald Trump could have paid off all the women he slept with for the rest of his life, and nobody would have cared. It shouldn't even come up in court. They could have a contractual agreement for him to do so, and the judge would back it up. That's not the problem. The problem is that they're trying to say that you used money that was supposedly only supposed to be used. Now watch this. Here's and this is where we got to keep it. I'm sorry, what you say for people that say that we focus on race so much, they shouldn't focus on race. Yeah, most definitely. Right. But watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Like, hear me out. How you doing, Sister Latoya? Hear me out on this now. They're saying their problem with what Donald Trump did is that he took fundraising money that's supposed to be only for him to run for president, and he took it and spent it on Stormy Daniels rather than continuing to use his own money. Now, hear what I'm saying? See, this is a legal thing versus a moral thing. They don't care about morality. This is not about morality. How you doing, Sister Shima? How you doing, Black Steel? This is not about morality. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is not about morality. This has nothing to do with morality. Because the same people who are mad about what he's doing, I already mentioned how other presidents of Democrat and Republican have already used money and be tripping off the money, right? But let's just do something simple. The same people that would have been mad and that are going to say we're going to go ahead and say Donald Trump should be arrested because of what he did with Stormy Daniels are the same people who will sit down with them at a function to make sure that they're going to raise money for homeless by making sure that people are eating $500 to $1,000 plate meals. I need you to catch this, the hypocrisy. Catch the hypocrisy now. Don't use the money that's supposed to be used to run for president on a prostitute, or not a prostitute, excuse me, on a porn star that you're paying to keep your mouth shut about the fact that y'all are having sex. But y'all see this once a year, even at what do they call that? When they invite everybody and they have a comedian come and he roasts everybody. Those plates, that place that people are doing, a lot, they'll have you under this belief that everybody's paying a certain amount of money to come. No, like a lot of times that stuff is already paid off by your money. You said the morality of fraud being wrong, sure. But once again, is it wrong that Bill Clinton took away habeas corpus? Like, let's just deal with all of it. Like, why is it that nobody cares about the super predator thing? Is it wrong that he took away people's habeas corpus? I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. So if you're coming in here with a Republican or Democrat thing, you're coming to the wrong place. I could care less about that. Malcolm X taught me, Minister Malcolm X taught me specifically. He said that, hey, he said that just because you let me into a diner, if you don't allow me to eat anything there, then if you can't call me a diner if you won't let me dine. He also said I'm not a Republican, nor a Democrat, nor even an American, and I got sense enough to know it. Okay? So I'm not coming from that. But if you're going to talk about, well, the morality, fine it. Then why were you trying to vote for Hillary Clinton that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife, Sister Coretta Scott King, First Lady Coretta Scott King, told y'all straight up, don't listen to the people that work for the same place that Hillary Clinton made her market. Why? Because they hate Black people. See what I'm saying? Like you're trying to act like this is a morality issue. Nobody's ever cared about morality with these presidents. Why is Ronald Reagan, even though he was this close to being impeached, why didn't he get impeached? Why did George W. Bush, who was helping to make sure that he was putting crack in the community and was making back alley deals and was working with Osama bin Laden, who now all of a sudden he's your enemy, but the enemy of your enemy was your friend. And he was over the CIA getting this stuff done. Why is it that nobody says anything about him? I met George W. Bush, by the way, sat and talked to him for a while. He seemed to be a pretty decent cat. In that mode, he wasn't president anymore. He was just talking to me. He had to put on those stuff. But at the same time, I know some of the stuff that this man has done. Right? When I was in the military, he came down. I was sitting there. I was afraid. Everybody was looking at us. I didn't know if I should put my cover on, if I should stand up there. He told me, sit down. He sat down and talked to me like a regular human being. I don't look at any of these people as the gods that you want me to look at them as. These are human beings, and these human beings can commit sin as well. And if they commit sin, they need to repent, just like you and I. Because what are we talking about in this series? Removing the leaven from our home. And removing the leaven from our home means what? Leaven represents sin. Sin is working definition for sin is anything causing you to miss the mark. So if they're doing something that causes you to miss the mark, I want you to know about it. How you doing? Is it pretty in Cruzada? Thanks for being on. Right? Oh yeah, JFK's last speech, believing the fact, if you know why JFK really got shot by a Secret Serviceman in the car, you can see how he gets shot. But if you see how JFK got shot, here's the thing for you. Like when you look at how JFK got shot and then the cover up that was crazy, they tried to say that there was a magic bullet and all that stuff. Look up into that part's crazy. But JFK basically got shot because he told the Federal Reserve that we're not going to keep letting you control our money. Then Richard Nixon comes in and he gets rid of the gold standard, the person that he ran against after JFK's, the vice president finishes, who's the first person that they put back in when they get control back all the way, Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon messes around and is doing illegal stuff. And what do? Pardon him, because his boy now is in office. So we're going to talk about morality. Why are we not talking about morality? See what I'm saying? Let's remove this sinful mindset. How you doing, Brother Anthony? And if I'm missing some names, please, once again, charge to my head, not to my heart. I'm trying to catch you guys on all these platforms. We appreciate you, whether you're on the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We thank you so much for spending some time with us. How you doing, Melissa? And Shabbat Shalom to everybody as you're coming in. Bakwata, Tada. So, the morality piece, you missed me with that. Because if it was about morality, then we would be moral. Is it not immoral to say that you should lock somebody up because you don't like them, but then you shouldn't lock up the people that you do like? Is it not immoral to act like Trump was Democrat a while ago? You remember that? And y'all were supporting him as a Democrat. He was saying, lock up the Central Park Five. Y'all remember that? Remember, he's a Democrat, and he said, if I did run for president, I'd probably run Republican because the Republicans just, let whatever happen happen. He told you what he's going to do. He was a playboy out there. He was messing around on his wives. He was, he's marrying people that y'all would say prostitutes or you have prostitute-like behavior. Not trying to slut shame. I'm just telling you what y'all would say, what y'all used to say about these people. Matter of fact, when you don't like Donald Trump's wife, then all of a sudden you call her all these names. But if you like his wife, then you say that she's better than Michelle Obama. Well, if you don't like Michelle Obama, you'll try to say that she's a man. This is the wild stuff that we deal with. So I'm not talking about morality. If we want to talk about morality, then we can't talk about politics. At least not your politics. They can't be my standard. How you doing a narrow path? You see that? Like, it can't be my standard. If your politics change because you like somebody or don't like somebody, then we can't speak politics. Polls, opinions. I don't opine here. So politics, see, pollee, even the people, the polls of the pollee, the polls of the people, the opinions of the people, right? But you don't even recognize how capitalism works. Right? You don't even comprehend how capitalism works. Capitalism is defined in which it's a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. Trade and industry is wielded by owners of private corporations for profit and not by the state. The state means government. The state means country, by the way. How you doing, Purple Rain? So what did we say it again? So you don't even, we're talking about politics, but politics is controlled in capitalism. How do I know this? Once again, the definition of capitalism is a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. How you making your money? Trade and industry is wielded by owners of private corporations for profit, not for you, but for their profit, and not the state. That means the government. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? If you're saying morality is this, be moral, morality, immorality, or he did it or not, like you don't lock up. Like there's somebody who's okay. Watch this. Do you think that do you think that it's coincidence that people would rather you talk about Donald Trump, who's not even president, but don't want you to talk about Ukraine? You think that's coincidence? This is Q&A. Let me ask you a question back, right? Do you think that's coincidence? Do you think that's just random? Do you think that just randomly occurred? You think the news, that's controlled, right? The news is owned by what, 2-3 families, max? And you get the same news. We showed y'all that before on YouTube. We let y'all listen in. You get the same news over and over and over again. Everywhere you live, they have the same setup. They got the same punchlines. They have the same jokes. They have the same amount of time they want to use to make sure that you're watching people kill each other, or people who've been murdered, or things of that. They want you to be outraged during this time. They want you to be happy about this child or this humanitarian thing that happened before Trump was even president. Now they care about you. Now they want you to know what's going on. Yeah, they want to create fear. They want to create you to be afraid. That's why the Bible tells us to fear no man. We talked about this yesterday, right? Be strong and of great courage, right? And do not fear. Fear there means respect, reverence. So do not reverence anything except Yahweh, because only him should you fear. And that's ultimately the point of this. So I'll try to leave that there unless y'all want to go deeper into it, or you got some more questions, comments, concerns, or whatever. But we can move on to the next thing. But I just wanted to put that out there because I know we're not going to have the time to really talk about it. Maybe it'll come up deeper when it gets bigger or something like that. But I just wanted to remind you, please don't lose no sleep over this. Please don't start marching the streets. Please do not go to the California or Michigan or Florida, meet up to make sure that we're going to talk about these situations. Please don't worry about, now I got to really get in there and vote because my vote matters more than it ever did. Like it mattered more than it did when Trump was running, and then it mattered more than it ever did when Obama was running, and it mattered more than it ever did when Bush was running, et cetera, et cetera. Like, please don't do that, because they're running more game. If Donald Trump is locked up for the next 55 years, what will it affect in your house? You said, trust you not, praise God, right? If Donald Trump is not locked up and is totally exonerated, what's going to change with your bills? Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't help it. It's so popular. It was coming on my feeds, even when I didn't want nothing to do with it. So I get it. I'm like, dang, I don't even care about this, but they're throwing this at me because they want me. And the Holy Spirit, she had to be like, hey, pay attention. Somebody needs to hear this. But yeah, there's nothing that's going to happen to you. Yeah, he's a distraction. Right? And that's exactly right, Sister Nadine. Pay attention to the bills that are going to be passed. That's what you want to pay attention to. It's a smoke screen. They do a little smoke screen in there. They do the bomb in there. All right. And all of a sudden, everybody's sitting up there. They do that light bomb, that sound bomb right in there. And everybody's disoriented and confused and trying to figure out what's going on. And meanwhile, there's somebody in the corner. We'll write this bill, and okay, you sign. Okay, you only sign it if I make sure women can't. Okay, and you'll sign. Okay, I make sure now. Remember, we're trying to make sure our constituency down in the South. We want to make sure that we bring that Jim Crow thing. Okay, so we just gonna slide that in. Somebody said, okay, no problem. Jim Crow never left, but just make sure that you put this in there so that when I get voted in, or when it's time to vote in Michigan, they'll vote me in too. They don't. It's game. They're running game. So pay attention to those bills that go inside, and that's what's up. All right. So unless somebody comes up with another question concerning that, I'll leave that there. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for directing us in that. I feel better now. I felt like I had to get that off my chest. I don't even want to talk about it, but I felt like, okay, we got that. I kept hearing you got to talk about it. Yeah, you don't care because they're going to set things how they want them to go. Amen. So pay attention to those bills. All right. Now, next thing I want to bring up real quick, and this will be quick because we've talked about this before, but just real quick, if you got, and then we'll open it up for some more Q&A. Like I said, today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday, we'll just be ending on Q&A for the rest of this, okay? So any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys may have, we're going to work on that for these next few days. So whatever questions y'all want to bring up, especially concerning removing the leaven, but whatever questions you like to bring up, I don't know everything, obviously, but if I do have some contextual facts to give, I will do my best to give. I will try my best to stay away from opining. You said, can I explain a Bible story that explains 3 cities? Story that speaks on 3 cities, 3 different temperatures of water? I'm sorry, what is, I guess I don't have that in my Rolodex, which is the city that, may you please tell me what city it is that's necessary? I guess what's the mindset of that? I don't know. There's some things I just don't know. So if you're telling me that the Bible study speaks on 3 cities with 3 different temperatures of water, which, I mean, is something that happens if we're going to just talk about in the beginning, Barashat, because creation. If you want to talk about the fact that there's going to be 3 different types of water in Revelation, if you want to talk about that, so I mean, we can talk about those things, but that's probably not what you're hinting at. So what is it that you like for me to be able to go into in that? Is Yahshua coming back very soon? Well, if you look at Revelation and you comprehend what it is, we're in the last times now, but Yahshua HaMashiach, or who people call Jesus the Christ, still, he already told us in Matthew chapter 24, really all of Matthew 24, but specifically verse 14, what you need to be aware of as far as what's going to happen. Verse 13, there's some things you have to endure to be saved. Verse 14, he says, then those of us, when we preach the proper interpretation of the word of Yah, he says, then he'll be able to come back. So remember, there's going to be wars, rumors of wars. There's going to be people who say they come in his name. There's going to be people who are saying that they're lustful. There's going to be people who say it's all about them. There's going to be people who say, that you have to bow down to them. There's going to be all these things. And it says those things must happen. But those are the beginning of sorrows. He said, but when somebody tries to tell you that's the end of the world, don't look at that as it is. He says, when this particular interpretation is preached throughout the world. So it's not just when somebody runs up on you with a Bible, but when somebody gives you a particular interpretation that the people would have used to make sure, right, the people who wrote it, who were led by the Most High, who ultimately himself writes it, universal law, when they give you this thing properly with proper comprehension, he says, then he's coming back. So that's what we're looking for, right? But Revelation chapter 3, verse 15 and 16, Revelation chapter 3, verse 14 and 15, right there too, right? Revelation chapter 3, verse 6, telling you to stay away from Nicolaitans and deeds, Nikos, laity, people who conquer you and say that you're lay people, right? Sounds like a church. Sounds like Congress. Sounds like what a lot of people go through in their job. But also it talks about Balaam doctrine, verse 14, right? Revelation chapter 2, excuse me, I said 3. Revelation chapter 2, Balaam doctrine. Revelation chapter 2, Revelation chapter 2, verse 5. Revelation chapter 2, verse 6, Revelation chapter 2, verses 14 and 15, excuse me, right? And then Revelation chapter 2, verse 9 talks about a particular people. Revelation chapter 3, verses 7 through 9 talks about a particular thing that must happen through a particular people and teaching that must allow everybody to come in, that these people, Revelation chapter 7, must be sealed so that all nations can be grafted in. Revelation chapter 7, the rest of it, and Romans chapter 11. Paul, who, by the way, we keep trying to use, once again, political thing. Do I believe in the Old Testament only or the New Testament only, as if somebody didn't write those words in? So we're having a different mindset concerning that. But once again, even Revelation, Chazon, or what some people call Chazon, Aleph, or Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 says in the beginning, this is not your revelation. That's the problem that a lot of people are having, is that it's not everybody's revelation. It says that this revelation is what? It says that this revelation is for those who follow, or it says it's a revelation of Yahashua given to him of Alacham. And then in verse 3, Revelation chapter 1, verse 3, it says specifically those who observe and do this. this is for them, but this is not for everybody. We keep making this weird distinction that everybody's going to know what this means, and it doesn't. That's why, like, a lot of you don't know how to comprehend what the spirit is, the Antichrist spirit, and even the mark of the beast, but also going further, what is the number of a name? Right? If you know how to write in Hebrew, you know how to write out 603 score and six specifically with whose name it is, whose authority it is. Then even when they try to say in the Greek, well, it would actually be 616, you'll realize it's the same name. So when we talk about revelation, it's all cultural, it's context, it's kingdom culture, interpretation, law. So what do I think about gun laws? Should we buy as well? Oh yeah, I think that you should allow gun laws to roll. Now, I don't think that you should allow people to get automatic, but if they're gonna allow people to get automatic weapons, then get automatic weapons. You know, I got something for you at every residence I go to. just keeping it 100. I've told y'all before, you know, my children, they gotta learn, right? They gotta obey the laws of the land. But once again, if you live private, then you don't have to worry about, oh, well, if you're walking around, you know, they'll shoot you if you're black just for having a water pistol and stuff. Well, you're right, but I don't really go to the same places y'all go to like that. So if I go to those places, I'm aware of certain things, but I don't go to those places because I don't live that lifestyle. Hey, how you doing, Jude? Yep, we celebrated our new year March 23rd. Nice sign. I'm up, but welcome. How you doing? You said, again, do you agree preachers use church money to buy nice cars and jets? I believe some do. I know a lot of preachers that are broke and get out of it because their families don't get taken care of. I know I was a musician that for the longest time, you know, the most I made as a musician. Now there's musicians that make 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year, just because of the size of the church they play at. I can tell you, as somebody who played with some heavy names and stuff like that, the most I ever made on a music gig in church or otherwise I made more, but in church, the most I ever made one time was like 250. The most I got paid regularly for like a 2-year period in my life was a 200. No, I take that back. Then I started getting paid again by somebody else about 200 for about a year and a half. So, yeah. So, you know, I don't go to churches anymore. But yeah, so yeah, are there preachers that do that stuff? By the way, if a preacher has private jets and stuff, I'm not mad at the preacher for having private jets. I just think if you got a private jet, I shouldn't see somebody in your congregation that can't get buried. Like if you got a private jet, there shouldn't be anybody in your congregation that's not eating. If you got a private jet, then if somebody's got some emergency going on in someplace else, why don't you put some gas in your jet and help them to get where they need to be at least, even if you don't bring them back? So yeah, you're not gonna, you know, if you're saying that because there's preachers that do wrong, then therefore everybody who preaches is wrong. Well, that's the same as me saying, well, I mean, if there's a person in Congress that does wrong, then everybody who's ever voted for them does wrong. I mean, is that true? You said, so leaven is sin. So are we actually removing leavening agents from food? We're removing anything in our home. Home represents community, or also represents house, tent, etc. Right? So it can represent a people, it can represent a nation, but anything from our home. So inside of these walls that are our homes, we're trying our best to ensure that there's no leaven. Basically, anything that causes anything to rise, bread to rise, any of that, they put it in a lot of different things. So we're trying our best. I'm sorry, a narrow path. You said, please answer. What is it that I missed? Oh, okay. You said, again, I need more input from the pastor. You need his opinion. Well, it's not my opinion. I'm just giving contextual facts. So, I mean, I don't know what it is that the answer you're looking for. Are you saying, like, is it true that there's pastors that take things from people? Sure. Is that, I don't know if that's ultimately the goal. If you're saying there's people who fly on jets or things like that, like, okay. Are you asking, should they? Once again, I don't think that, like, I personally haven't flown anywhere since before COVID. So personally, I haven't flown anywhere since before COVID. No, lemon juice is okay. So, you're talking to me. I travel everywhere. When we went cross country last year, not one place did I travel. And one of the reasons, besides the fact we need to rest because we were on the road so much last year, but also one of the reasons we haven't traveled is because I'm still not 100% paid up. We finally started traveling again, not paid up, but I'm still, there's still some things in my vehicle, and I want to make sure are correct. Actually, my wife's vehicle is the one we're using now. You said let Leviticus 27:30, read that on tithing. Well, tithing is bigger than just Leviticus 27:30. The first tithe is done by Moses. I'm sorry, Moses. Huh? First tithe is done by Abraham, right? So you should figure out why did Abraham tithe? And he tithed because he was putting a down payment on something that his children would come and get later, right? Shalom, right? Methuselah, king of Shalom, or Salam, or peace, or where is it going to go later? Yada Shalom, or what you call Jerusalem, right? Later on, right? So a tithe is a tribute. Matter of fact, the reason why Abraham went and it was hailed as a hero when he freed up he went for Lot, of course, but in his family. But when he freed them up, they thought of them as being heroic. And he went to the king of Shalom because all those people were having a problem with 4 or 5 kings that were out there that were forcing everybody to pay a tithe or a tribute to them. But also, if you go past Leviticus 27:30, so when you look up all of them, whether you talk about Malachi, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, list goes on and on. When you're talking about a tithe, you're talking about something that's a tribute. You're talking about the first 10, as far as usually. Now, tithe, once again, can be a tribute, but you're talking about the best of what you have, not just in money, right? A lot of it's not even money. Some of it's food. People talk about, well, tithe is only food, but you don't give any food to anybody. You definitely don't give your best food. Tithing can be your clothes, tithing can be your time, it can be your talent, your effort, your energy, your finance, etc. But when you're talking about tithing, we need to even talk about who the tithe is for. You know, we even need to talk about who is the tithe for. Because once again, this is not for everybody. I keep saying this, but people don't believe me or agree with me. The Bible is not for everybody, nor is everything in the Bible for everybody. It's for those who follow certain things or fall into certain categories. So if you're going to talk about a tithe, right, that's how law works. Law doesn't give rights, law protects the rights. And if you don't have the right to do something, if you're trying to make a petition that you don't have the right to make, that's what prayer is, a petition, right? A petition is a request or a demand made upon a government based off of your constitutional rights. So if you have no constitutional right to be asking for what you're asking for, then your petition, even if it's your petition can be given, but it cannot be made known. To be made known means it must become intimate. The Most High to be intimate with it. If you have no relationship with the Most High in many ways, then your petitions fall flat anyways, right? We were talking about tithes. If you look in general, or if you look in all of it, be holy. Don't be partial, be holy. Put a W before that H, be whole. So if we look at it holy, Allah, one, Hakodash, holy. If we look at it in one fashion and put all of this together, we'll find that basically your tithe is not even supposed to be used for a building. They set aside materials for the building of the temple, but not tithing. The tithe is for, in order, the Levites, because they're not supposed to have any land that they own or work in the field. Everything that they have, it should be something that is given to them. And when they pass on, as a Levite, when I pass on, somebody else who's a Levite has to be able to take what it is that I have by law. See, we don't live this. We don't write this stuff out. We don't actually live the decrees, but we talk great game. But first things first is Levi. Second is who? The widows, right? And in our culture, this is the way it used to be. We don't roll like that anymore. This is very Afrocentric. This is very Israel-centric. This is very bibliocentric. Number 2 is the widows. If the first thing we would do is if a widow, right, especially depending on her age, if somebody was married and your husband died, guess who's supposed to take care of you first? If you're married into a family, guess who takes care of you first? Somebody help me real quick. I know I'm skipping around a lot of questions, so forgive me. But guess who's supposed to take care of you first? And thank you everybody who's coming on. I know a lot of people have came on. I'm doing Q&A and I'm getting into some things, so forgive me if I missed your name. But I thank you guys. I think I saw Sister Helen. I think I saw Divine Key. I might have saw a couple other people come on. Thank y'all for being on, right? It's the brother. It's the next up, right? So if you are married to somebody, that's how our culture is. Why do they do that? So you think of that, oh, well, he doesn't love her, blah, blah. No. Y'all got this thing twisted. In our culture, you don't marry somebody you date. In our culture, sex is marriage, marriage is sex, right? See, you say the church. But see, the church, cirque, came into existence after the Bible was written, right? No. First people who should take care of the widow is the family of the widow. Remember, we would pay a dowry. Rachel was somebody who Jacob loved, correct? So if Rachel wanted to be married, right? If Jacob wanted to be married, he went through a knocking ceremony. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. We don't even get the representation of that. That's actually a ceremony that still exists in many tribes today, by the way. Even many tribes who still identify as Israel today. However, right? You go through a whole ceremony, you go through a whole thing. You've been trained since you were children to be husband and wife. And when you find a wife and you find somebody who you feel is a wife already, and you observe her and you see she's doing certain things with the mission well, then you ask her not to be in submission, submitted to you, but to be in submission, to be submitted to the same mission. How you doing, Sister Tori? And so now that y'all are together in this mission or whatever, she's helping you. And especially if you're a Levite, but in general, if the husband passes away, right, we paid a dowry. Right? Jacob had to pay 7 years of his life and then got tricked even by Rachel, who he loved. And guess what he did? He paid 7 more years of his life. Y'all don't want to see you talking about something. You're trying to talk about a biblical context, and you don't want to live above biblical context. Like you had to pay something because a wife was valuable, and you were taking a wife from her family. Now, I'm not saying her family could never visit or anything, but you were going to end up taking a wife from out of her family, out of her father's house, and bring her into your father's house and into your house in an immediate fashion, immediate family, right? So if you were going to do that, then she was valuable. You had to give something up. So now you pay to make sure that she is taken care of by your family. So if the husband died, guess what happened? Who was next in line? The brother was supposed to be next in line, if he wasn't already married. Right? We have this concept of like and love. A lot of y'all like people that you can't love. I'm gonna leave that alone. That's not the question, right? But I'm just saying, a lot of y'all have people who you like, but you don't love. And right? You should learn how to love somebody because you'll end up liking what you really love. A lot of you guys are in relationships because you liked them when you were dating, but you never found out how to love them as a husband or a wife. So now you're 20 years in trying to figure out why you're like, man, why do we feel like we're going to break up or this and that or whatever? There's love. There's certain actions that have to be done. And if somebody's saying this action isn't done, this action isn't done, this action isn't done, if you feel like this action isn't done, this action is done, this action isn't done, that's what the issue is. See, so see what I'm saying? So the family was already, it's a different mindset. So getting back to the tithe, I'm already still in it. But once again, we're not holy. We're not bringing all these things together. But the action is important. So if the wife's husband dies in our culture, next up would be the brother. If our family couldn't take care of her, right, then guess what? Then she becomes the responsibility of her family, possibly, but really she becomes the responsibility of all of Israel. And where does Israel have the stuff set up aside specifically for Levites and then widows? It's in the tithe. So she should not be without food. Why? Because it's in the tithe. You see how that works? Because also she's married to the Most High, correct? So Israel is married to the Most High, which means that anybody that's part of the Most High's wife should be taken care of by what's set aside for the Most High. That's what a tithe is for, and you're missing it. See, you think the tithe is for a building. They didn't use the tithe for the temple. You think a tithe is to pay salaries. They didn't pay salaries, right? The Levites didn't get a salary. The Levites were supposed to do what they were supposed to do, and if they did what they were supposed to do, the people gave 10% to them. If they didn't do what they weren't supposed to do, they didn't get paid. There was no salary. There was no, hey, if I work 17 hours, I'm going to get this much money. No. If you do what you're supposed to do, you can live and you can eat and your family be taken care of. But your life belongs to the Most High. See, we're signing up for stuff. We don't know what we're signing up for. So, yeah, you're supposed to pay dowry. Now, I can't do stuff like that now, especially because we're in the land of our captivity. But even technically, for real, brothers, if you coming after a sister and you go to her father, guess what you're supposed to do? Even if you can't pay something physical, okay, what is it that you need me to give? I need to be able to give something to show you the truth. It's still remnants of it when y'all walk down the aisle. Two people walk down the aisle. You think it's one, but usually it's two, or one goes to a certain place and then somebody meets them halfway down the aisle and they walk down. It's the father of the bride. And the father of the bride is saying, hey, he's shown me enough, or he's given me enough indication. He's sown something into this enough that I'm okay. Who giveth this woman away to be wed? Well, there's a transaction that's happened. Spiritually, there's a transaction. Physically, there's a transaction. Our families are going to come together. I trust him with my daughter. She's been my spiritual wife. She can't be my physical wife, but she's been my spiritual wife. I'm giving them to her, right? So that he would be able to take it to the next level. And because of that, see, in your culture, you believe that the father is supposed to pay for the wedding. So you got to twist it. You think the father of the bride pays for the wedding. The father of the bride is given something because his daughter, his wife, so to speak, his spiritual wife, not physical, right? But his daughter is being taken away. This is why before you can be married, you got to give yourself to the Most High, because if you're going to get married to his daughter, his daughter being taken away, he's giving you charge over his own wife, his own bride. He's in charge of that sister. Yehovah is. So how are you just going to give you this wife and you're not willing to give him anything? You're not willing to change. You're not willing to pray. You're not willing to seek him. You're not willing to make sure that he's being blessed. You're not willing to tithe anything to him because you're going to give to him. So, I mean, these are principles that are there. So the tithe, once again, for the Levite, for the widow. Next up is the orphan. Now, once again, who should take care of the orphan? The orphan should have parents. But if for some reason the parents aren't in place, guess what? Then we should look to see if their family, somebody else in the family, can take care of the orphan. Normally, once again, the next man up, the next brother up, or the next sister up, or whoever. We're dealing with a patriarchy, matriarchy situation, whatever. If that family can't take care of that orphan, who does that fall on? That falls on Israel. You see that? That falls on Israel. You see that? That's how that works. We having a weird conversation because you're coming from a different perspective, a different cultural context, and you're trying your best to use Eurocentric values and walking down the aisle and you getting married to the state and becoming a ward of the state and doing all that. No, we're supposed to take care of our own. But this is foreign to you, and a lot of people even think, "Oh, well, this is disgusting or it's nasty," blah blah. Like, no, because you don't live it. Right? I'm not saying that's our goal. We hope that people have healthy and happy relationships where two become one for 40, 50 years. But the family is supposed to take care of the, like, we as Israel, we take care of our own. So we take care of the Levites. Right? How you doing, LaFleur? Right? We as Israel, we take care of our wives. So if the family can't take care of them, we take care of them. If we as Israel, we take care of our children. If the family can't take care of them, we take care of them. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? Now, who's next? So you got the widow, the orphan, the poor. Next is the widow, the orphan, the Levite, the widow, the orphan, and then the poor. So many homeless, and nobody's families take care of them. They don't even call their families, right? But in our culture, this would not be so. Interestingly enough, I always heard about how poor Africa was till you start going back. Any experience, I'm not saying there's no homelessness. I'm not saying there's not any places where they're struggling. But any experiences I've really had in Israel, people don't just be homeless. Whether it's us sending money over there, helping out in Kenya, helping out in Ghana, helping out in Nigeria. When I had a chance to visit like a hot second over in South Africa when I was in the military, different things like that. Like this, I'm not saying people aren't dealing with being poor, but you don't see, like, even the babies, right? My wife is somewhat in the same room as me, so she can, if I'm lying, she can go ahead and tell y'all I'm lying, right? Or if I misremember it. When we went back, we were dealing with these children one of the days, and the children, were running up, and they're asking for money, this, that, or whatever, which I had no problem doing, and especially because American money was more valuable, the dollar was more valuable than the CD and stuff like that, right? But they're running up, and she was like, well, should I give them money for blah, blah, blah? And I was like, I'm just letting you know, if you give them money for this, there's going to be some other children around. But also, look, I was like, peep game, their mothers right there. you know. And I was like, peep game, there's some children watching over there. And so we have this context of like, no, like they work it. They know that when you come over, I'm not saying it's right or correct anything. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not saying every child is doing this either. But I'm telling you, you have this concept of like everybody's homeless. But as you walk around there, you don't even see anybody unless they work in the streets. Right? I think we saw possibly, and babe, tell me if I'm wrong. I think we saw what, 2 to 5 homeless people, maybe 2. We saw the one guy that actually looked like what we think of somebody homeless would look like. And that was like, he was just by like, and it wasn't a bunch of homeless. Like he was just like this one guy that seemed like he had a mental health issue.
Yeah, mental health issue. It seemed like he was maybe homosexual, maybe. Like it was like the only, like I saw maybe 2 homosexual people, and he was one of them, the homeless guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't really see like that. What you perceive to be homeless, it's worse. Homeless situation is worse, way worse in America than it ever is in Africa. I'm not saying people don't have poverty. I'm talking about somebody being homeless, somebody having parents that don't try to look out for them, right? Like I'm not saying there's zero. I'm telling you straight up. Like I've been. Like you want to know the worst places where I've seen homelessness at? Like you want to see some really bad homeless situations? Go to Denver, Colorado. Right? Like you want to see how you doing, Brother Greg? Thanks for the love. You really want to see some homeless issues? Go to Denver, Colorado. Like that'll mess you up. It's a really small city, first of all. You be thinking Denver's like really big. It's a really small city. Everything around it for I won't say for hours, but definitely as far as you can see, it's basically just going to be you just out there in the wilderness. And you got this one place, Denver, and the Denver airport is like somewhat close to it. Right? But you want to see really bad homeless poverty, go to Denver. If you want to see really bad homelessness, go to certain places in Hawaii. But in Hawaii, you know what? They take care of each other. If you're on the street, they don't just let you be out there. And you get to go to the beach and stuff like that. While you go to the beach and they're like, brother, you got something, this and that. Like they'll make some extra food for you right there on the beach for you. You want to go, you want to go see some homelessness? Yeah, California, Skid Row, or just, travel down. There's miles and miles and miles where people live in tents off the highway in California. You said the Denver airport looks better than the state of Colorado. Maybe, I don't know about the whole state. I haven't been through the whole state of Colorado, right? You want to see bad homeless problem? Go to Washington, D.C. And here's something, Washington, D.C. is more dressed up. So you'll see the homeless, but also there's a lot of people, I used to do this myself. We'll walk around as homeless there, right? And I'm sorry, I say we, I'm not homeless anymore, forgive me. But, you'll see people that walk around there that look better than what they are. So there's a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of people that go, they just know where to go. They know certain places that they're allowed to be in. Maybe they can sit on the side. You'll see, if you pay attention, you'll see them nodding off. They're on drugs and stuff like that, nodding off, right? You want to see homeless problem? Go over to Chicago. I'm not even talking about South Side. Go over to Chi-Town. You want to see a homeless problem? Stay right in the United States. Go to Houston. Stay right in the United States. Go to Dallas. Right? I didn't even leave Texas yet. Go to Fort Worth. Right? You want to see a homeless problem? Go to Miami. Right? And if you want, right? So in our community, you take care of the poor. So if their family can't take care of them, we do this. Yeah, Detroit, real bad. We were able to bless some people with some stuff over in Detroit. We're still giving some stuff to bless the building, the church that let us use the facility while we were there. So yeah, Detroit, what is the average income of families, not of people, the average income of families that look like us in our diaspora that are in Detroit is $6,000 a year. And people take advantage of that. People go out there and they make porno videos of those girls and the crackheads and stuff like that and put them online. And give the girl what, $5-10? And she gives up her body at least once a day for that. Like I'm telling you, you want to talk about homeless. See, this is why Israel got to come together. We were supposed to protect each other from this, but we were taken away from our protector. We were taken away from the mindset of our protector, the Amanava'al, the manual, the mind of the creator. How you doing, G? Seattle as well. Yeah, I haven't been, Sister Sonia, how you doing? I haven't been to Seattle. I don't think. No, yeah, I haven't been to Seattle. I've heard about Seattle. I haven't really heard about their homeless situation though. That's interesting. I've heard just about everything else about Seattle. Nobody's ever told me about the homeless situation, but why would they? I guess, right? So you'd be surprised. Vegas. I ain't talking about Vegas. You know, we walk around Vegas and everywhere, right? People just talk about the lust and the lasciviousness of Vegas, but Vegas got homeless issues. Matter of fact, when we, babe, was Vegas, when we went to Vegas, was that where we were going into the native place that was like at the gas station, and we were going in, there was the guy right outside that was Nate. I can't remember what tribe he was, but he was native. He was sitting on the bench. Wasn't that Vegas? It was outside as we were coming in, but it was like maybe on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. Like even when we were in Sedona, Arizona, I don't get it twisted. I be looking, there's homeless people. It's really nice in Sedona, but there's homeless. You know, so, but that's what the tithe is for. We're supposed to use it for them. If the families can't take care of them, we take care of them too. Oh, that's Indian Springs? Okay. Yeah, it is Indian Springs. That's exactly where we were. Yeah. I remember the sign now that you said that. Right? So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. You said you work at a federal poverty program, so you see it daily. Yeah. Well, homelessness is in every city, of course, and somebody without is everywhere. I'm not trying. I'm just talking about when people talk about a homeless problem. I'm telling you, like, yeah, there's people that are not doing that well in places that I've been. We went out into what you would. I don't even. Well, I guess you would consider it the bush. There was still some housing there in Millennium City, right? We went there quite often. You know, we went other places. We traveled all over the place. So, you know, but the when you talk about even Millennium City, like, yeah, there were places, but they still had food and took care of each other. They visited each other, like, and the situations there are a lot different. You know, we were freaking out. I've told this story before. We were freaking out when we went there because, you know, in America, you can't trust your babies nowhere, right? So your babies in America, your baby be like 5 feet away. And you're like, get over here, right? Get over here. Somebody might snatch you up, especially if you're in a crowd. Over there, they had I don't even know if she was 2, but the little girl was toddling and walking around. And my wife and I are freaking out. And we're like, why is she walking? Like, tell her to come back over here. Get this baby back over here. Get her. You know, we freaking out like she too close to this. She too close. Like she's close to the bushes over there. Blah blah. And they're just looking at us. They're like, why are you worried about that? And the mother is like, let her play. And the mother's inside cooking food. And she comes out because we're freaking out. And she's like, oh yeah, she's okay. Let her go and play. And we're freaking out. But you know why? Because over there, they don't worry about stuff. Like they have people that walk around with machetes and everything, and nobody's concerned. You know why? Because they don't commit murder like you do. Now they're starting to watch Americans, and they're starting to pick up American values, and now people are kind of concerned. But right, they picked up. They're watching Americans now, and so their children, they're getting starting to get confused that their children are acting like Americans. Amen. The scripture says the poor will be with you always, right? But you go over there, and we were trying to take a cab, right? We normally had a guy who was traveling with us or whatever, who was like a driver for us. Like they were just like, they love Yahweh over there. So like you come over there and you give the word and stuff, and people like take off. Like this guy was like, we had to like, we were putting money in his pocket too, but we finally had to be like, yo, like, please go, and if you need to do something for your family, this and that, like you ain't got to be with us the whole time we're here for weeks. You'll have to make sure that we're okay. But they, you know, that was Brad Bednigo. Matter of fact, the sister I was talking about with his wife, Sister Sarai or Sarah. So, you know, and she's the one that made our clothes, literally just looked at us, didn't even do any measurements, looked at the picture of our son, didn't even do any measurements, and made clothes, all of them fit. And we still, you know, have them to be worn to this day. You know, but hear what I'm saying, like over there they have a whole different mindset, right? And so their whole mindset even about children over there is like, or anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place. The taxi cab, we're in the taxi cab, we're getting ready to go somewhere, and we have our guide Pastor Bo that's with us, and we're getting ready to go. I can't remember if we were going to Amina Castle or coming back, or maybe we were going towards where we were staying. I don't remember, but we're trying to go. I feel like it was nighttime, so we couldn't have been going to Elmina Castle, but we're trying to leave And there's, for the first time I've been there, and this trip is what, 2 weeks? So a little over 2 weeks, something like that, but basically 2 weeks. So first time we've been there for at least a week. This whole time we've been on this trip, I see people fighting. It seems like a fight's going on, like a big argument. And they're fighting with the guy who's the driver. And we're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what's happening? What's this fight about? What's really going on here? Like yeah, she is very talented. We're like, what's going on here? What's happening? like we haven't really seen anybody beef like that since we've been down here. I've never noticed it. Like I didn't realize I hadn't been afraid of police officers until I actually saw police officers, and then realized they don't operate the same. But I hadn't seen any police like that. I hadn't really seen, no offense to anybody, but what we call white people or whatever. I hadn't seen that, so I didn't think about racism the whole time. I didn't think about whether somebody's looking at me because I'm black or this and that, right? Like I didn't think about any of that stuff the whole time. But I see this argument, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And so Reverend Bo starts telling us, Pastor Bo starts telling us, well, it seems like this guy, so there's a girl that came up first, and then there's these guys that are coming up. And basically, long story short, like 4 or 5 guys were like getting on this dude, almost to a point where they were like going like put some hands on him because he had lied to this girl and he owed her like some money. I'm like, okay. They were supposed to do a business deal. So I'm like, okay, thinking to myself, how much you owe him and stuff. And then I knew enough of what they were saying. I didn't know anything fluent, but I could tell, when they started saying CD and numbers and things like that, I could kind of keep up. And then my suspicions were made correct. Reverend Bo was like, oh yeah, it seems like he didn't give her like 1 CD. Now 1 CD is like $1, right? But that's how much they're into like honor your word. Like if you said, I'm not going to say somebody's not going to try to get you to overpay for something or doing this or whatever. But if you tell somebody you're going to give them a CD, you say you're going to give them $1 and you skip out, like somebody might find you. And this guy was going to take off and not honor his commitment or his word to her. And it was something that they were like, oh no, you're not going to leave here. Right. So you got to comprehend it's a different culture, it's a different style. That's why I'm saying when you talk about tithes and people saying, well, do pastors use it to pay for themselves and to get houses and to get this and to get that, right? It's a different culture. It's a different mindset. By the way, people believe in sowing in to pastors. The Pastor Bo over there, we went there, like his house attached to the church, all that stuff. They were building it. It wasn't even fully built, but they sowed. But then they expect a service back, right? Like when we came over there, they sowed, they wanted. Like we could have been over there, right? And just been like we could have just been straight up like, give us this, give it that. They were giving us too much food. We could not eat the food. And some of y'all know how big I am, right? And I could not keep up. Like they wanted to feed you to the point that you were stuffed. And it was organic food too. Like everything came from the land. They were preparing everything from scratch in front of the sisters would show up. I'm talking about the sisters would show up 8, 9, 10 in the rising and already out there getting the stuff together, getting the plants together. Right, they making the peanut stew, jollof rice, all that stuff. Like they're up there early, right? But we sold back. We made sure we gave things to the children. We made sure we gave Bibles in their language and Bibles that were approved in our culture, things of that nature. We made sure that we gave education. We made sure we sold. We made sure we talked to people. And I'm telling you, like I can see how somebody would ask that question. Well, what if they take advantage? Because it's easy. There are some people in Africa that definitely take advantage of our people. Some pastors over there that definitely do. There definitely are some people over there that do that, for sure. There are definitely some people who take advantage, right? But I'm telling you, it's a different mindset. Like people don't believe me when I say this, right? But they found it horrifying. It was the first time when we had to explain to them what atheism was. They didn't know that there were people that didn't believe in the Most High. They were freaked out. Like when we finally were explaining to them on the cab ride, we were going over to Millennium City from Accra or Super Accra, whichever where we were, and yeah, Reverend Bo, he began to cry and he wept. He asked for Brother Abednego to pull the vehicle over to the side, and we prayed. He insisted, and he was in tears. He was flipping out. He was shaking. because he had never thought in his wildest imaginations that there would be people that don't believe in the Most High. But they'll have you and I believe, oh yeah, people didn't believe in what you believe in. It's like, no, like these people are freaked out that there's somebody that at least you don't believe in anything. Like there are people that freak out about that. See, it's cultural, right? So we take care of people different. And even guess what we were in their country, the last part about the tithe. We were strangers, we were immigrants. Even though eventually they accepted us back in, did a whole ceremony and said yes, and they realized we knew who we were, knowledge of those things. They anointed us with oil. Very Israelite ceremony that we went through over there. Matter of fact, I think I found pieces of it, so maybe those will pop up again. They took it down in the last YouTube channel, so maybe we'll be able to put some of them up there for you guys again. But yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that is over there. And so that's what the tithe is supposed to be for. The tithe is supposed to be for the Levite. If you're doing what you're supposed to do as a Levite, then yes, your family's supposed to be taken care of so you can focus on this, and you're not supposed to work in the field, right? The widow, if the family's not going to be able to take care of her, then you take care of her, Israel. That's what the tithe is for. Tithe is set aside for those situations. The orphans, if their family can't take care of them, you take care of them, right? The poor, if their families can't take care of them, you take care of them. And even the strangers, the immigrants. That particular trip I'm talking about, that's I guess we say that's Ghana, a lot of Ghana. We didn't go through all of Ghana on that trip or whatever, but yeah, a lot of Ghana we went through. We went through quite a bit of it, right? We went through the coast, the slave coast, bread coast. Some of that actually, I guess you would even consider possibly Nigeria and stuff, but bread coast, slave coast, gold coast. What's the other coast I'm missing? Bread coast, slave coast, gold coast, ivory coast. Albina Castle, the castles that are considered to be, where the scattered Israelites were on the map of Negro land, right? So we went to all those different places, right, on that particular trip that I'm talking about. But you go other places too. People know where you are, and people go through the same concepts. They have different concepts of who you are, and people recognize who you are. My wife will tell you, she could probably tell the story better than I could, but when she was in Switzerland, and well, hold on, babe, was this in Swiss when the guy came up to you and tried to ask you, who you were from? You started crying?
Yeah, it was my host cousin.
Okay.
He was cousin, the nephew of the people that were keeping me.
Okay, for the second family?
First family.
Okay. So yeah, so there was a guy who came and he basically was like, hey, where do you come from? And she's like, well, I come from America. He's like, no, but like, your people, your tribe, basically. He's asking, like, where do you come from? Who do you come from? She's like, well, I'm American. I'm African American. I'm like, no, like, where do you come from? And she's like, well, I'm American. I don't know. And he began to weep, right? That's how much culture means to people. Like he began to weep. He began to cry. We don't think about it like that. We're just like, oh, well, this is normal. That, we just grow up in a place and maybe I know my grandmother and past that, I really don't know anybody. And that's not normal. This is why we got to remove this leaven, this sinful mindset, this thought process that says that this stuff is okay or this stuff is the norm. And if anybody tries to tell you that you're wrong and they try to say you're a reverse racist because you want to know who you are and you want to know the truth, that something's wrong. Salah. We should know who we are. Remember, it doesn't matter where you come from. It matters who you come from. That's why when you become sovereign, you can even use your birth certificate if you know how to use it correctly, or you just get your DS-11 form, your passport done, and you make sure that when you fill out the form, you don't say where you come from as much as you say who you come from, or in that instance, really who you do not come from. Because it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters who you come from. That's what a person is. A person, especially a natural person, is what? A status. So do I have any knowledge of Bantu people? I have, I think, sufficient knowledge as far as what we're talking about today. I don't have that much time left though, because got to get ready for the podcast, which once again my wife will be on today. So prayerfully you guys will be able to listen to what she has to say to y'all, and we appreciate you in advance for being on. But yes, as far as Bantu, are we talking about the language that's similar? Or are we talking about because we have certain items to be able to see that they are still to this day are using Avda language, or we would call it some of the ancient languages. Are we talking about as far as the E1B1A connection? I'm not sure which direction you want to go with that, but yeah, I'm aware of them to a certain degree. It's at so the podcast is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern, so I guess it'd be 7 Pacific. No, sorry. No, yeah, I had it right. 10 a.m. Yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern, so about 7 a.m. Pacific, or I guess in Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas Pacific time, 7 a.m. Podcast, if you look on Podbean and you look up my name, the Kofi Ofori podcast, if you hang in there just a little bit, we're about to do our shout out. When we do our shout out, it'll pop up on TikTok anyways. If you're on YouTube, it has the information in the description. If you're on Facebook, you can text us at the number that's on there in the description and you'll be able to find out how this is. If you're on the podcast, you probably already know how this works. Right? But you can, if you're not sure if this is your first time, look up this podcast you're listening to, the Kofi 40 podcast, and you got to join us live. If you want to be with us live and be able to call in and stuff, that's at 10 a.m. Eastern. Of course, you can listen to any of the podcasts, everything we record at any time. Praise God. Right. But it's important. It's important that we have this stuff, and it's important that we know who we are. So even the tithe and offering. Now, somebody was asking again. So we're going to be doing Passover April 5th. And the evening of April 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. So that's going to be this up and coming Wednesday. It'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. So if you're in Central time, that's 7 p.m. right on this Wednesday coming up. If you're in Mountain time, that's 6 p.m. coming up this Wednesday. If you're on Pacific time, that'll be 5 p.m. And we'll be doing it via Zoom. So even for those of you that are meeting together, you can still just come on, follow our lead. I believe Minister Tamer's going to be giving the word this year. I'll still be doing the giving of the, I guess some people will call them the sacraments, but, just giving the things that are out there. So we'll make sure that stuff is out there for you all. If you want information on even scriptures concerning, Passover and coming together, things of that nature, we have it on our videos, not on our live. If you go on our YouTube channel, don't look for the playlist or look for the live, look for where it says videos. And one of the videos, I think it's the first video up right now, actually. Look on those, and it's about 11, 12 minutes long, and it's literally just me letting scripture scroll. And you can just watch as the scripture scrolls down. Okay. You said check out Clapper. Yeah, so I think I can go live on Clapper. I know I can go live on Clapper. We've got like 1,000 people on Clapper. I did it when they were first coming out, they wanted everybody to reach 1,000 so they can get as many people going live. So I think I can still go live on Clapper. I haven't posted anything on Clapper probably for like a year plus, but I still have the app. I've been looking at some other things as well. But yeah, we might look into something like that as well. But by the way, so the 7 last words we've been doing, right? That's every night. We'll still be doing that tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. Minister Joseph will be coming with a word tonight for the 4th word. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, or my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? But so all those we're doing on the live sessions, the evening lives like we've been doing. So please, sir, I know some people have not been on it, or sometimes you come on and maybe music's been playing and you're like, oh, okay, well, since music is playing, you kind of leave it alone. But we actually that's leading to the 7 last words. That's something to get us ready. And then we have a selection that plays off at the end. If you're on YouTube, we let you, or Facebook, well, YouTube specifically, we let you guys come on later so that we don't make sure we have to deal with any copyright things or anything like that, or any, they say we're playing somebody else's music without permission, yada, yada, yada. So we have it on TikTok and the podcast. Well, the podcast we don't do live, but you can listen to the whole things on the podcast. We have all 3 of them, I believe, so far. The 1st word, 2nd word, and the 3rd word. So those are on our regular live sessions. So don't forget, though, Passover is going to be on Zoom. Okay. So do not forget that Passover will be on Zoom. Okay. So Passover will be what? On Zoom. And don't forget today, 3 Zoom meetings. And those who are doing ministering training, I'm going to have to double check, like I said, the time. I think I double booked us time-wise. Got a lot of stuff going on today. So I think I might have double booked this time-wise. So we might have to move it back a little bit, or move something to reach out to you guys. If you guys can't move it, we might have to just push it back a little bit. But as far as the Zoom meetings for the areas, at 11 a.m. Eastern, so right after the podcast at 11 a.m. Eastern on Zoom, Those who are in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, we look forward to talking to you. If you've already gotten an SOC meeting link from us before in the past, if it says on it SOC meeting, right, or SOC community meeting, that means that that's the right link. I will try to get it to you guys again. I'm working on making sure that we finish putting out these Google Calendar invites as well that you should be able to receive. So prayerfully, like, in the next hour and a half or so, you should be getting all of that as well. But at 11 a.m. Eastern New York time, those in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Zoom meeting just for your area. At 12:30 p.m. Eastern or 11:30 a.m. Central, those that are in Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois, Indiana, Ontario. I think that's about everybody. Over there in that area. So if you're in that area, we're going to have a Zoom meeting just for you guys. That'll be at 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time or 11:30 a.m. Central time. And then if you are on Pacific time, right, so that'll be 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're on Pacific time, and maybe some other people scattered in there, but if you're in Washington State, Oregon, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Colorado, I think that's about everybody in those areas that we have. Maybe we have somebody in Montana. I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, we might have a couple families there. But if you're basically in that area, we're going to go ahead and have a Zoom meeting for you all at 11 a.m. Pacific time. All righty. So we thank you guys. We appreciate you. You said you're from Texas and never received a link for SOC meetings. Okay, interesting. I think Brother Greg, you might be somebody to where I've tried to. I've befriended you on TikTok, but I think you have to follow me back. I'm going on top of my head, top of the dome. But if you want, text me at the information that's going to pop up. You can just text me directly, and we'll make sure that you have those links. But we don't have you guys. The Texas meeting, Texas and Oklahoma. I don't think you guys are going to be until. Let me look real quick. I don't think you guys are going to be. Actually, we might have to set it up. Oh, no, yeah, you guys aren't going to be till April 15th at 11:30 a.m. Central. So that'll be the next one we have for you guys. But I think because I've been sending them via DM, but I can make sure that if you want to just go ahead and text me, Brother Greg, I can send it to you in advance. That way we don't have to worry about it coming up again. So that's my bad. But thank you for letting me know this. I apologize that that's been the case. And also we have people that should be reaching out to you as well. So if I didn't get them your information, that could be why as well. So I'll make sure I correct that on my end. So thank you for that. But we got to go ahead and take our leave. We thank you so much for being on, everybody. Thank you again. Hopefully we'll hear you on the podcast or see you on the podcast. My wife will be on, and we're excited about that. That's going to be coming up in just a little bit at 10 a.m. Eastern New York times. So please feel free to join us at the top of the hour on the podcast. We're going to go ahead and take our leave. Thanks for being on. We'll continue our Q&A tomorrow. And we'll do Q&A tomorrow, April 2nd, Monday, April 3rd, and Tuesday, April 4th. And we thank you guys for being on. We appreciate you. We honor you. Those of you who we're going to be trying to see soon, we'll try and have some of that information out. And thank you again for being on. We appreciate you. We honor the King, Queen, each and every one of you. As always, check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful for everything that she does in the community and everything that she's doing to make sure that we are healthy as a diaspora. So we thank you, we honor you, we appreciate you again, and we look forward to talking to you guys soon. So thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. We'll do a quick shout out. So if you're not aware how the shout out works, just stay with us for a little bit here on TikTok, and we'll show you how the shout out works in a bit. And thank you, everybody, again, for being on all the other platforms. We appreciate you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, just that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom, family. Peace. For those of you who are still with us on TikTok, we're going to do our shout out here at the end. And the shout out is pretty